Fox host freaks out on air trying to cover for a tanking Trump. A moment meant to project confidence instead spiraled into a live television spectacle as a Fox News host appeared to unravel on air while scrambling to defend a visibly tanking Donald Trump. What unfolded was not just an awkward segment or a heated exchange, but a revealing snapshot of panic spreading through conservative media as Trump's political standing shows unmistakable signs of strain. The frantic tone, raised voice, and barely concealed frustration told a story far bigger than the talking points being pushed, exposing a network and its personalities struggling to prop up a narrative that is rapidly collapsing. The segment began, as countless others have, with the host attempting to reframe bad news as good news and obvious setbacks as strategic brilliance. But as poll numbers, legal pressures, and public skepticism continue to pile up, the usual confidence was nowhere to be found. Instead, viewers watched as the host grew increasingly agitated, talking over guests, dismissing inconvenient facts, and lashing out at perceived enemies in a way that felt more desperate than defiant. It was the kind of performance that suggested the talking points were no longer landing, and the fear of losing control of the narrative was setting in. Trump's recent struggles have been hard to ignore, even within the protective bubble of friendly media. Polls showing erosion among key voter groups, ongoing legal battles that refuse to fade, and a general sense of fatigue among the broader public have created a perfect storm. Fox hosts, long accustomed to acting as Trump's unofficial defense team, now find themselves in a more precarious position. The old formulas of outrage and deflection are no longer enough to drown out the noise, and the strain is beginning to show on air. During the broadcast, the host's body language spoke volumes. Clenched jaw, sharp gestures, and a rising pitch signaled a level of stress that went beyond normal partisan sparring. When confronted with data that painted Trump in an unfavorable light, the response was not reasoned rebuttal but emotional escalation. Accusations flew, motives were questioned, and the conversation veered wildly off course. Rather than reassuring viewers, the performance amplified the sense that something is deeply wrong behind the scenes. Media analysts were quick to seize on the moment, describing it as a crack in the carefully maintained facade of confidence surrounding Trump. For years, Fox News has served as both shield and megaphone, smoothing over scandals and reframing defeats as victories. But as Trump's challenges multiply, the burden of that role is becoming heavier. The on-air freakout was seen by many as evidence that the network's talent is feeling the pressure of defending the indefensible, forced to perform loyalty rather than analysis. What made the incident particularly striking was how transparent the effort appeared. The host was not calmly presenting an alternative interpretation of events, but actively fighting reality in real time. Each attempt to pivot away from Trump's problems only drew more attention to them. Each angry interruption underscored the lack of a coherent defense. Viewers who tuned in expecting reassurance instead witnessed a raw display of anxiety, one that undermined the very message the host was trying to sell. This moment also highlights a broader shift within conservative media. As Trump's grip on the political conversation weakens, the tone is changing from swagger to siege mentality. There is less humor, less confidence, and more outright hostility toward anyone who dares to question the narrative. The Fox host's meltdown fits neatly into this pattern, reflecting a media ecosystem that feels cornered and is reacting with volume rather than substance. For Trump himself, moments like this are a double-edged sword. While loyal media figures continue to defend him, their increasingly frantic performances risk reinforcing the perception that his campaign is in trouble. When defenders appear panicked, it sends a signal to viewers that there is something to panic about. The effort to cover for Trump's declining momentum ends up highlighting it instead, turning supposed damage control into a public relations liability. Even some conservative viewers expressed discomfort, noting that the segment felt less like news and more like a meltdown. The spectacle raised uncomfortable questions about credibility and trust. If the case for Trump were truly strong, critics argue, it would not require such visible emotional strain to make it. The freakout became, in that sense, an accidental confession, revealing just how fragile the narrative has become. In the end, the Fox host's on-air unraveling was about more than one bad segment. It was a sign of stress fractures spreading through the media apparatus that has long shielded Trump from consequences. As his political fortunes wobble, the people tasked with defending him are showing signs of burnout and fear. The camera caught what words tried to hide, a growing realization that the old playbook may no longer work and that no amount of shouting can fully mask a campaign that appears to be losing its footing.